And welcome everyone. We're just going to give everybody another 30, 40 seconds to get in and we'll get started. Okay, I think we got a good amount of attendees in, so we'll get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Grenier. I'm Senior Project Coordinator here at NEHA. Welcome to our first webinar for our 2024 grant application process. This is for our NEHA-FDA Retail Flexible Funding Model, or better known as the RFFM grant program. We will be going in depth into reviewing the application process and more specifically new rules that will apply to this year's process, and also to just kind of mention our portal, since our portal is opening soon. This will be an interactive discussion via our chat. This is set up as a webinar, so any of our attendees throughout the presentation, you're welcome to drop questions in and we'll capture those. So at the end of our presentation, we can share those with our panelists to answer so that you can get all the answers that you need for the application process. I am now going to turn it over to Rance Baker, who will take it from here.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. And thanks for being on this webinar with us. Hopefully, we're going to be able to give you some good information on what we're doing in this next year on the Retail Flexible Funding Model Grant Program. I am a director at the National Environmental Health Association and working intimately with the team to make sure that this grant program works well and is a successful program. And we work with FDA on this. And I'm going to introduce some of the folks, or let them introduce themselves, some key players that you might know already. If you don't know, they'll explain to you how they can help you along the way there. But I think the program itself, when you have questions about what's going on with the Retail Flexible Funding Model Program, you can reach out to any of us, and we'll make sure it's that it gets directed into the correct location for everyone. So I'm going to pass the wand over to Joetta DeFrancesco.
Good morning. Thank you, Rance. I appreciate that. I'm Joetta DeFrancesco. I'm the Retail Program Standards Coordinator here at NEHA for the RFFM grant. And it is a pleasure to work with all the great people I get to work with. My job is to help everybody succeed at the grant and succeed at the RFFM. So if you have any issues, concerns, whatever, feel free to reach out at any time, and I will be more than happy to help. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Art.
Yeah, and we've got some other key players before I get started. So Mary Beth and Tiara especially, do you guys each just want to introduce yourselves and tell, because you guys are kind of on the front lines of this program with us as well. Mary Beth, why don't you start?
Sure. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Mary Beth Needson. I'm the project officer for the Office of Partnerships here in FDA that oversees the grant program that NEHA is working on and does the subawarding through.
And Tiara.
Thank you. I am Tiara Smith. I'm a program analyst at NEHA. I am one of the leads for the mentorship program. And I'm excited to see the program go for another cohort again. Thank you.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of other people on the call. I don't want to introduce everybody, but know that again, at NEHA, working with NEHA and working with FDA, we've got a team of people really trying to serve you. So we're excited to be here. And Dr. Randawa, do you want to say anything as well as we get kicked off?
I want to say thank you all for joining the call and looking forward to you guys all applying.
Yeah, great. Thank you. All right. Well, we are going to talk about applications for the 2024 grant year. And again, we're really excited about some of the changes that we think are going to make the program better. Really grateful to the FDA and to the Joint Advisory Group and to the retail food specialists and all the others that really help. You know, this is about funding, but they're the ones that help you move through the standards and make it a success. So excited about all those partners. I do want to acknowledge a number of you sent questions in beforehand. We're going to have plenty of time to cover questions at the end. We're going to hit all the questions that were sent in, but you'll also have the opportunity along the way to submit questions by chat. So don't feel afraid to do that. We're going to stay on as long as we need to answer those questions. And like I said, we'll probably be done with the presentation part somewhere around 12:35 and then have plenty of time for those questions. I will say this presentation starts at a basic level and builds up. So if you've got questions about some of the specific changes, you might not want to throw those in chat until we're near the end of the presentation, because we'll probably build up. What we really want to do a good job of is explaining some of the combined grants that are going to make things easier for you all to apply and also to do your reporting. We're also going to be talking about a lot of the funding in year 3 or CY 2024. A lot of that funding is going to be fixed funding based on deliverables, no more receipts. And we're going to go into detail on what that means, how you get reimbursement, and what those deliverables you must achieve are. So again, hold your questions on that until we're kind of near the end of the program, but I'll get started without further ado. First thing that we want to talk about is just the goals and benefits of the retail program standards. And when I say this, I'm not talking about the grant program. I'm talking about the voluntary national retail food regulatory program standards that have been longstanding with FDA. And those standards are about inspectional uniformity and consistency, but they're voluntary. And the work is at your own pace. So what we're trying to do in the retail program standards is encourage folks to do that on a national level, whether you're with the state, local, tribe, or territory. Inspectional uniformity and consistency, again, at your own pace, and it's voluntary. The retail program standards is about enabling relationships with other jurisdictions. Maybe nearby, maybe far away. You know, a lot of that's through the mentorship program. A lot of that is just through conferences and meetings and just doing the work. But we really want to see that continue and grow. It's about states, locals, tribes, and territories assisting each other and also receiving the necessary assistance they need to make progress in the retail program standards. This program, retail program standards, is meant to be inclusive, that all registered retail food protection jurisdictions are welcome. If you regulate food, you should be signing up for the retail program standards, again, with FDA, the voluntary national retail food regulatory program standards. There is plenty on the NEHA website and also on the FDA website about what registration means, but just knowing that the first step to be involved in the grant program is to register for this FDA retail program standards. It generally is going to take you about a day to do that. So it's an easy process, and we've got lots of instructions out there for that. We also want the retail program standards has a greater goal. It's all about building that integrated food safety system that states, locals, tribes, territories, and federal partners and national associations and industry will all work together to have an integrated food safety system that is the best in the world. We're already there. We do have the strongest food safety program in the world, but we want to continue to get better. It's not perfect. People are still getting sick, and it's exciting to see the changes. But that's what, again, first and foremost, what we want to focus on is the retail program standards. Next, we'll talk a little bit about the grant program. The NEHA-FDA RFFM grant program is what we'll mostly refer to this as. And we want to talk about some of the characteristics. First thing, we want to say that it's a program that's far from perfect, but we really want to honor and we really want to solicit your feedback. You all have given us great feedback. So has FDA, so have other national associations. We are hearing that feedback, and I think you're going to see some major changes in 2024 for the 2024 program that are really going to make it easier easier to manage this funding, a lot less paperwork. That's the primary message we've been hearing from you, and we really are looking forward to describing what we're doing and getting you guys to experience that in CY 2024. So again, we know we're not perfect, but we really strive to get better, and we really, really want all the feedback we can get from y'all. Because we're about continuous improvement, just like we want to lift up continuous improvement through the retail program standards for you all, we're trying to make this program better every year. And again, like I said, I think we're really hitting some major pinch points this year. This program provides funding to enable and incentivize. We want that funding to be something that draws people into signing up for the standards and making progress. And we want the funding to be enabling you to make that progress. It's not necessarily going to pay for everything, but hopefully it's enough to incentivize and enable, particularly with the streamline, some of the streamlined things we have going on for this year. We want it to be accessible to all, and we want it to be transparent and fair. And again, we're far from perfect, but we want to get better. I see lists of anywhere from 2,300 to more than 3,000 retail food safety jurisdictions across the country. And we want everybody to know about this program. We're hoping that a lot more join. In any given year, we've got about 10% of the jurisdictions involved with this program. Probably overall, 30% or more over the years have been involved in the funding programs FDA has offered. We'd like to get that number a lot higher, and we're really hoping that you're a part of that, and that you are helping to share what works and get other neighboring or jurisdictions you have relationships with involved in the not only in the funding program, but in the standards themselves. We also really want it to be a program that has a low administrative burden. This is the area we think that we have not gotten perfect in the first couple of years, not even near perfect, but we really think we've got some good changes coming. And if they work well in CY 2024, there will be the second manifestation of this program is going to come out most likely for 25, 26, and 27, managed by an association to be determined for the next phase. And we're hoping that the lessons we've learned translate into that new program to even lower administrative burden. But that's kind of an overview of the program. And then I'll pause for a second. From the team, management team, anything I need to be aware of? Are we good to keep moving?
Doing well.
You're good.
All right.
Yeah, no questions yet.
You're fine.
Okay, all right. So some things in the program remain the same, and they're the basics. Again, to be involved in the funding program, you've got to sign up for the voluntary National Retail Food Regulatory Program standards. You can look on any search engine for that acronym. You can look on the NEHA.org/retail-grants website, and you can find information. You can also find information on the FDA website, but enroll, even do that today. If you want to get funding this year, enroll in the standards. That's your first step. Your second step is to register for the grant program. So there's two registration steps. The first one for the retail program standards, the second for the grant program. All of that you can find at NEHA.org /retail-grants. You can also leave the dash out. We have both of those domains, but this is the official site. And everything you need is at your fingertips, including links to all the important FDA websites. So this is a really good place to go. Even if you're registering with FDA, you can find the retail program standards enrollment information on that NEHA website. You're going to use the same grant portal that you used in the past. If you're new, you're going to register for the grant program through the grant portal. That's found at neha.org /retail grants. Or if you're an existing grantee or a past grantee through NEHA, you're going to use your existing login and password. You can also, through the portal, reset your password. If you need to change a login or be reminded of your login, we can help you with that. I'll share the help desk information at the end of this slideshow. But just one area that is frustrating for some folks, your login is most likely not your email address. That's an easy thing, but less secure. In most cases, it's your first name _ last name, but you can put in your email address to recover your login and to reset your password. All of that is self-service on the website. But again, if you have trouble there, just give us a call or an email and we'll help you out. One of the good things we did in year 2 that we're carrying over for year 3 is it is a full performance year. So you get, we're going to open the grant portal August 16 next week. It's going to stay open till October 11. We're going to do all the reviews and everything. And in early December, you will be notified whether you're getting an award or not, or multiple awards. And on January 1, you will be able to start your project, use your funding, and you'll have till the end of the year. One thing I'll mention up front, I'll probably mention it again. This is the 3rd year of a 3-year cooperative agreement. So we will be a little tighter on time. So especially this year, we really want you, if you get a new grant or if you've got a 3-year grant, do your very best to close out your work December 31st and get your report in early. That's going to help us all to get, we've got about 6 months to wrap everything up in 2025. But if you get all your work done in 2024, that helps us all. That's not to say that if you run into issues, you can't get an extension. We will be offering at least 3-month extensions to people that need them. But the more people that can get their work done in 2024, the better. And then one thing that's the same as last year, there are no new 3-year grants this year. Again, that was for the first year, we offered 3-year grants. We've got a number of grantees that are working through those and doing great work. And we are going to be evaluating all of the different grants. And perhaps for the calendar year 2025, you may see some new 3-year grants available, still TBD. And I do see a hand raised. Not sure if I can respond to that or if that's something that goes through chat, but I'll pause.
I think it needs to go through chat, Art. So I'm Megan, if you could just put your question in chat right now.
Okay, great. All right, let's talk about some of the things that are better. Again, I'm going to start general and get into the specifics. So some things we are getting better, and we're really excited about some of these changes. And really, again, grateful to FDA and to the Joint Advisory Group who have helped us continually improve this program. One thing we did in year 2 is we created a combined track 1 application. So if you were in track 1 last year, you were new and you were or restarting and you needed to do a self-assessment of all 9 standards and a comprehensive strategic improvement plan, we set up a grant where you could ask for everything that you were eligible for in one grant. That was the track 1 development base grant. You could do your base grant activities. And then you could also do the mentee option, and you could get a training option that let you go to self-assessment and verification audit workshops. That worked really well. We'll go into more details of that later in the presentation, but we're going to do the track 1 combined grant once again, but because it works so well, we're going to do it for track 2 as well. So track 2 has different base grant activities and different training options, but they also will have a combined application. So base grantees in track 2 can get their base grant activities progress through standards 1 through 8, working on a public health metric through standard 9. They can become a mentee and they can get all of their training options through one application through the development base grant. Track 2 also has a couple add-ons they can do, but again, we'll get into more details there, but this will be a lot less paperwork for track 1 and track 2. What it will mean is one application for 3 different options that used to be 3 different grants. It also means one interim report and one final report for those tracks. So again, particularly for track 1 and 2, this is going to be a great benefit. We are also moving a lot of the funding, and this is the biggest benefit, and this will benefit both track 1 and track 2, but also track 3. Anyone in track 1 or track 2, anybody who's a mentee, even if they're in track 3, anybody who's a mentor, even if you're in track 2 or 3, all of that funding is now going to be fixed amount awards with payments based on deliverables met, no receipts required, no tough paperwork. A lot more flexibility in how you can spend that money. I know a lot of the questions that came earlier were aimed at that. You're really going to like this. And again, we're going to get into exactly the details for each of those grants and also exactly what the deliverables are. So stay tuned. Just in the next few slides, we're going to cover that in much more detail. But that is a major change. And I don't think people realize how much more effective that's going to be yet. but what it's going to allow you to do is for most of your objectives through this grant program for year 3, you're going to get to focus on doing the work and making progress in the retail program standards with the paperwork made much, much simpler. So I think, again, that's the major message we heard from people, make the paperwork part simpler. And we think we're going to deliver on that big time for, particularly for those track 1 and 2 grantees, but also a little bit for track 3 as well. And then again, just wanted to say that this is the message we heard loud and clear from grantees, from applicants, from FDA, from other associations, from the retail food specialists from FDA. Make it simpler. And again, that's what we've really tried to do for year 3. If everything goes well, and hopefully the feedback will go to whoever wins this cooperative agreement for years 5, 6, and 7, and it'll translate, and we'll see even more simplification in the future. So getting into what fixed funding options and grants, what they are, what that means. The grant types and options that will utilize fixed funding based on deliverables met will include the Track 1 Development Base Grant. There's 3 elements. There's the base funding and the mentee option. Those are both going to be based on deliverables, fixed funding. The training portion will still be based on receipts, traditional reimbursement. Track 2, kind of the same thing, your base funding, whether that's for standards 1 through 8 or standard 9, to meet a public health metric, that's going to be fixed funding based on deliverables. So will the mentee option. Your training funding will still be based on receipts and traditional reimbursement. And again, we're used to doing that. The training funds will be just like they've always been done with the receipts to show what kind of travel you did and keep track of all that. And then the mentorship optional add-on grant. If someone wants to be a mentor, whether they're in track 2 or track 3, if you're in track 2, instead of choosing mentee option in your base grant, you will choose the mentorship optional add-on grant. If you're in track 3, you can be a mentor or a mentee through that mentorship optional add-on grant. But all of the mentee funding is deliverables based, fixed funding, all the mentor, and we'll get into those details next. All right. Payment for fixed funding options and grants. To receive payment for fixed funding grants, specified deliverables must be met for each grant type and option. Again, we're going to go over those. Payment will be based on deliverables achieved during the project period. And what that means is expense documentation will not be required for payment of fixed funding outcomes and options, and your actual spending does not need to conform to the deliverables-based payment amount. Again, this is a big deal. What it does is it lets you focus on the work, like I said before. It also, the way the system was set up in the past, it really rewarded those who needed salary dollars. But it was more tricky for people that didn't need salary dollars, and some people couldn't spend all their money. What this is going to do, and I'll pull up the next bullet, it's going to give you the freedom to expend funds as determined by your unique needs. All you need to do is meet the deliverable. And I'll use an example to make this clear, but we'll go over this in detail for each grant type. If you're a mentor or a mentee, one of your deliverables is going to you need to send at least 1 person up to 2 to the year-end meeting. The deliverable payment will be $3,000 for that, but that will be the same whether you send 2 people and you live in Alaska or whether you're close by and you send 1. In other words, you can send the money, you can spend that deliverable-based funding based on your unique needs. You're not locked in. So we'll get into more details there, but I think it's really going to make a difference, particularly for those who do have some unique needs. And again, it cuts out a tremendous amount of paperwork. One thing I will say is for audit purposes, you still need to make sure that your spending adheres to all applicable federal subaward grant funding rules. If you're doing things that's not allowed with federal funding, NEHA is not necessarily going to know about it with your mentee grants. We're not necessarily going to know about it with your base funding for track 1 and track 2. But when you get audited, and you will sometime, whether it's the state, whether it's the federal, sometime down the road, you'll get audited. If you're not spending money, if you're breaking those grant rules, you're going to cause trouble for yourself. So again, we have the prohibited expenditures in the grant guidance, but it's things like construction, buying vehicles, spending money on food. You shouldn't ever, with any funding, be buying first class tickets, things like that. But again, we are going to be on the honor system in the short run and let the audits catch any issues. One thing I will say is we don't have many issues like that. Most of you are tied up in the rules, not being able to spend the money the way you need, hire a contractor, pay your staff, do some extra travel, things like that. This is what it's going to give you the freedom to do that. So that's what fixed funding is all about. All right, let's talk about some specifics. I'll start with the mentee grant. So if you are getting mentee funding, either as an option through track 1 or track 2, or if you're in track 3 through the mentorship optional add-on grant, your first deliverable will be achievement of the retail program standard goals for your application. So what that means is we are hoping that people, even if they're in track 1, if they want a mentor, that they're going to do more than just the basics. We're hoping that you're going to do more than just a self-assessment of all 9 standards and a comprehensive strategic improvement plan. Those are required for track 1, but we also give the opportunity, if you choose the mentee option, what else are you going to work on? And hopefully you're going to work on at least 1 or 2 other standards, maybe even meet and achieve. I will say funding may be competitive this year, maybe more than the past. So, if you're going to put in a combined application asking for both the base funding in track 1 and mentee funding and also training funds, this goes for track 2 as well. We want to see some extra achievement in there, and that will really help you rise to the top if we do end up being more competitive than we hope for and plan for. But again, your first deliverable is just doing what you said you were going to do, and you'll get fixed funding of $8,000. Doesn't mean you have to always do that. I mean, we understand things happen. If you achieve or mostly achieve, you're going to explain why you didn't fully meet it, but you're likely going to get full funding. If you end up getting caught up with staffing issues and you only do half of it, you'll get half of that amount. We're going to work with you. But again, if you meet your goals, and usually 80% or more of our grantees do meet their goals, so you'll get a fixed funding of $8,000 for being a mentee. You will also get fixed funding of $3,000 for doing at least 1 site visit with your mentor. And that could be either in your jurisdiction or theirs. It could also be virtual, but if it is virtual, we're really going to want to see in your application that it's going to be really robust. We'd love for you to do a face-to-face visit, but if there's some reason you cannot, or if in your application you say you're going to do face-to-face, but there's some reason you're not, we want to see a robust virtual option. Pretty much when people do these face-to-face visits, they're spending on average between 1 and 2 days with their mentors, and that's really, really important. So that's a fixed deliverable. Your third fixed deliverable, I've already mentioned, attendance at that required year-end meeting. Some have asked if it's required, why is this a deliverable? We know things happen. We know last-minute changes happen. We know staff losses happen. Even though it's required, some of you don't make it. That doesn't mean you're going to get kicked out of the mentorship program. It means we're going to pay you for the deliverables you achieve during the program year. So that's it for a mentee. These are your deliverables. The maximum fixed funding. So most mentees will get that maximum funding because they'll do what they said. They'll get $14,000. And it's available for any applicant this year, whether you're in track 1 as an optional add-on, in track 2 as the mentee optional add-on, or whether in track 3 when you're putting in a mentorship optional add-on mentee grant. So that's what the mentee is all about. Mentorship mentors, very similar. If you're a mentor, you're going to get base funding for time spent helping your mentees. That's going to come to the tune of $6,000. You're going to get funding for completion of the program by your mentees, fixed funding of $3,000 per mentee. And a couple things about that. One is we want you to be incentivized to really make sure your mentees do what they say they're going to do and finish the program. Again, 80% of them do that automatically, but we're really hoping to get the mentors invested in helping those mentees cross the finish line. It also, for mentors, if you have a mentee, 1 or more, that you work with for 8, 9, 10 months, and then they end up having to drop out because of staff changes, that doesn't mean you're not going to get paid. If you do the work to support the mentee, you have completed the deliverable. But like I said, we really want you to encourage them to really finish that program. So that's what that deliverable is all about. And then we have the same deliverable for the mentees, attendance at required year-end meeting. That could be 1 or 2 people. And again, your actual spending could be higher or lower, but you're going to get that deliverable based funding. And again, what that ends up being is maximum funding of $12,000 to $24,000 spent as you needed spent as you need to really support your mentees during the year. And again, your reporting will be a lot simpler, and particularly your reimbursement will be a whole lot simpler. One other thing, this is available, again, I said this is available for track 2, and that would be instead of the mentee optional add-on. If you're in track 2 and you want to be a mentor this year, you will not choose the mentee option in your add-on or in your track 2 grant, and instead you will put in a separate application, the mentorship optional add-on grant, and choose to be a mentor. And track 3, you can be either a mentor or a mentee through that mentorship optional add-on grant. So that's a little bit about the mentorship fixed funding. And again, this is just a chart that shows, if you're going to be a mentor, 1 mentee, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you're going to get that same base funding and the same $3,000 for attendance no matter what. And then you get either 3, 6, 9, 12, or 15. We really want to emphasize, we would love to see more mentors this year. Every year so far, the last 2 years, we have had to turn away mentees, not because they didn't have a good application, but simply because we did not have enough mentors. So we started at the highest ranking and moved down, but there were some pretty good mentee applications that did not get funded simply because we did not have mentors. We're hoping that the simplification of the system, knowing that you can get a pretty good chunk of money to spend as you need to support your program to enable you to help mentees, we're hoping that means there's more mentors that apply. And we also hope that some of you that only maybe took 1 or 2 mentees in the past, maybe you'll stretch yourself and do 2 or 3 mentees. Maybe we'll have even more people doing 4 or 5. And if you do end up applying to mentor 4 or 5 mentees, NEHA is really going to work hard to assign you mentees that are working on some of the same objectives so that you can really have some efficiencies of scale. So really consider that. And you're going to see that again. We want you to become a mentor for CY 2024. It's an exceptional program. It really helps you be efficient and effective as you work through the standards. We're really hoping we have more mentor applicants this year than we've had in the past. So let me talk a little bit, and after I talk about the options and grants with traditional reimbursement, we'll go through each grant type in detail, and then I'll do a summary at the end, which has even greater detail about each grant type. But I'm coming pretty closely. I'll move through the rest of this fairly quickly. There are options and grants with traditional reimbursement. You're still going to have to do the same, same receipts, et cetera, that you've done in the past. That includes Track 3 Maintenance and Advancement Base Grant. Part of that is because it's a 3-year grant and we're not going to change that during the 3-year period. But a bigger piece is that those are much larger dollar amount grants, higher accountability. Hopefully there have been some lessons learned in year 1 and year 2, and we'll work together more effectively on our reimbursements for year 3. It's also going to help that the NEHA team of approvers has a whole lot less reimbursement requests to process, because so much of it's going to be fixed funding that we're going to be able to give more assistance and more attention to our 3-year grantees. That includes not only the Track 3 Maintenance and Advancement Base grantees, but also the capacity building. These will be the same reimbursement as the past. And again, higher dollar amounts, higher accountability, and who knows, that may, if we find out the fixed funding really works, maybe there'll be an element of that in 3-year grants in the future. But for CY 2024, it'll be the same as it's been in the past. Training funds through any method. If you get training through optional add-on grants in track 1 or 2, you're going to have to do receipts and a detailed budget in your application. Same thing goes for the training optional add-on grants under track 3. Again, everybody can apply for training. Tracks 1 and 2 will do it with the training optional add-on. Track 3 will do it through the training optional add-on pause for dramatic effect, grants. That's the only difference. Track 2 and 3 options are the same. Track 1 still is limited to attendance at self-assessment and verification audit face-to-face workshops. I'll cover that in another slide, but if you're getting training funds specific for training, you're going to need detailed budgets in your application and also detailed reimbursements. And then if you're applying for a special projects grant, again, those are variable. You get up to $20,000. People ask for very different things. We're going to need that detailed budget in the application, and it's going to be a traditional reimbursement grant. But again, those were pretty much bespoke projects. There's not a lot of them, and they're very competitive. So do your homework if you're going to do those projects. Definitely those will be done with a traditional reimbursement. So in summary, and this is the simple summary for track 1, you can get completion of the required objectives, which for this year, track 1 is really for people that do not have a current self-assessment, and they also don't have a comprehensive strategic improvement plan. They're also really designed for people new to the program or people that are restarting after staff loss, et cetera. If you've got a current self-assessment, and that a current self-assessment is one that was completed in August 2018 or later, you really should work on a comprehensive strategic improvement plan now and jump into track 2 and make greater progress. We're really hoping not to see people that are 3 years into their self-assessment and want to start over and do an updated self-assessment and a CSIP. We're really hoping for those folks, and you might not score well. We're hoping that those folks that have that current self-assessment, they're jumping into track 2. And if you've got more questions about that, please reach out to us about your specific circumstances. But you also in track 1, again, you're going to do a self-assessment of all 9 standards and a CSIP. You're also going to have the option to be a mentee with that fixed funding of $14,000, and you're going to have a training optional add-on where you can get up to $7,500. Your only option in track 1, however, is to send up to 2 staff members to in-person self-assessment and verification audit workshops. Dates are not firm, but it'll probably be just like this year where they're attached to some of the national conferences. And again, you can send up to 2 people to one or both of those conferences. And to one or 2 of those workshops. Remember that we do have the virtual options. We got some virtual options for self-assessment and verification audit workshops. Those are free. That's why they're not an option for this program. We also have there's a new self-paced virtual option that you can go through a standard at a time. So check that out as well. You can find more information about that on the NEHA website as well. So total possible funding for track 1 is $26,500. That includes $19,000 as fixed funding based on deliverables met. And all of that comes through a single application. So if you're in track 1 and you need to do a self-assessment and a CSIP, you're going to be in track 1. You have 1 application, and it gives all the options that you're eligible for. Track 2, very similar. Completion of your required objective, which means doing some work on standards 1 through 8, and completion of an optional objective to work on standard 9. You get $5,000 for the first, $5,000 for the second. Just so you know, and knowing it could be competitive, on average in year 1, and that's the only year we have finished, the average applicant in track 2 completed and audited 2 standards. So that's probably the bar. And they also did some continuous improvement work in others. Some people did more than that, some less, but that's kind of probably a standard expectation of kind of the normal bar is if you're in track 2, you're going to complete a couple standards or complete 1 and be working on 2 or 3 or 4 more. We're not necessarily wanting you to work on all of them. We're wanting you to do measurable, achievable work during the course of the year, but you can do that with the required objective. For the optional objective, that's work on standard 9. You can begin work on that. You can finish your work. We really offer different options through that optional objective that let you meet standard 9 wherever you are, whether that's finishing a FDA risk factor study, or whether that's just beginning some data collection and some data planning. If you're starting on standard 9, really consider that optional objective. We really want to see people doing that. And generally speaking, that's something that's going to be, you're going to meet standard 9 over 3 to 5 years for most jurisdictions. And so this is something we're seeing people get year after year. But that's how the optional objective works. Again, the mentee option is available for track 2. You've got the training optional add-on, which is the same as the training optional add-on grant, which is for track 3. In track 2, you're going to do it here, and it's all the same trainings, conferences, and workshops that have been around for a while. But notice one of the questions I saw was, are there other trainings available? FDA is making some of their trainings face-to-face this year. So some of you might get to do some travel for some of those FDA retail courses, but remember that there is a wild card. There's an other training option. There's a regional conferences option. So if you're going somewhere and you're getting help on the retail food, it's got to have a retail food focus. It should be explained that how does it help you meet the standards, but there are options to kind of do whatever you need in that training for track 2 and track 3. So keep in mind that's available. And then your total possible funding is $31,500. $24,000 of that is fixed funding. The only part that's not fixed is the training portion. And again, all of these options come through a single application for track 2. You're also in track 2 eligible for a couple other options. You can get a special projects grant, or instead of being a mentee, you become a mentor, but no more than 3 applications for track 2. And for most of y'all, you're probably going to end up doing just 1 or 2 applications. That's what we found typically, that, the objectives that you're meeting would lead you to doing just 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 applications this year on average, but up to 3. So sorry, got caught tongue-tied a little bit there, but also trying to move quickly and get to the Q&A. But before I get to the Q&A, maintenance and advancement base grantees, people with that 3-year maintenance advancement base grant, your continued work on that base grant, you don't need an application. Again, you're in year 3 of 3, so no application needed. Keep doing your work. People are doing a great job. Keep making that progress. We love to see it. You are eligible in track 3 if you've got that base grant for the mentorship optional add-on grant. And you can be a mentee with the fixed funding of $14,000 or the mentor with up to $24,000 in fixed funding. You also can do the training optional add-on and get the up to $7,500 for the same options that are available for track 2. You can also do the special projects optional add-on grant for a total traditional reimbursement of $20,000, total possible funding of $51,500, and $24,000 of that, the mentorship or mentee part, is what's going to be fixed for track 3. So you do get some benefit from that fixed funding even this year. And again, you can do up to 3 grants if you're in track 3. That would be the mentorship grant, the training grant, and the special projects grant. So with that, I've got more slides. Well, let me cover just a couple other slides. Advanced payments are still an option for all grant types. So if you need an advance option, about 20% of our people do that. A higher percentage of the big grantees, but even the small grantees do that when needed. No matter, even if it's a fixed payment, you can get an advance payment. Just make sure you meet your deliverables. If not, there'll be a refund. But we do that all the time. Not a tremendously terrible process. But again, advance payments are still available. And then we're going to have some application tips for folks. But I did want to pause and I'll do a big summary at the end of all the details of each grant type. But let's pause for questions here. And I do have a list of questions, but maybe let's hit some of the hot ones that we have in the chat. And I'll trust, I think Joe is going to kind of go through those and ask a few of those, and we'll throw those to the right person.
Well, a lot of them have already been answered thanks to our wonderful staff and team. But I'm just going to go ahead and read off what the question was, just in case anybody else had that same question, and I'll try to move through them pretty rapidly. On track 1 training add-ons, can you expend money for the SAVA course and other food safety training totaling $7,500? And the answer is track 1 can only attend SAVA and no other trainings. in that track. So, and there were several other versions of that question. And then we have a current self-assessment, but it expires next year and haven't done a CSIP. Are we eligible for track 1 to update our self-assessment next year and complete a CSIP? And that one did not get answered.
And Joe, I'll throw out an answer on that one.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, you are eligible to stay in track 1 and do a self-assessment and a CSIP, but know that you have a lot of help available and your CSIP is not going to be graded. So, I would encourage you, if you feel like you have the capability, you can update your self-assessment as part of a track 2 grant, and you could do a quick down and dirty CSIP. There's some online resources. Your specialist is a resource. I know Joe and others from NEHA are a resource. Consider that if you feel like you have the capability and get into track 2. But yes, if you're in year 4 and it's still eligible, but you're almost done, you can stay in track 1. Mary Beth, anything you want to add to that or change my answer?
I don't think I would change your answer, but each situation is a little bit different. And I think you need to consider where you're trying to go. If you've already done a self-assessment and all you're going to do is redo your self-assessment, I do encourage you to try track 2 as well and work off your current self-assessment to do a CSIP and get that done. So you have a game plan for what you'd like to do besides the self-assessment. If you were to receive funding next year, I think that's your best goal to set for yourself, because track 1 is really for a grouping of people that are trying to start themselves in the program. It could be a program that was participating for a while and then management changed, people left, things aren't there, they're not sure where to go with it, that may have to restart their program. But it's not really meant for you to redo your self-assessment per se, just to redo your self-assessment and do a CSIP. You should really be moving on with that. And I think you'll find a lot of encouragement to do that. And you can also try to get into the mentee program to help you all advance as well. So think about that.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Beth. I think that's a great full answer. Joe, what else we have?
Okay, so can mentorship funding support the travel to the year-end meeting? And Rance answered that for us, and that is a yes. So then we have a question about a consultant. So I hire a consultant to work on the standards. Can the money for training optional add-on be used for the consultant to go to workshops, etc.?
Mary Beth, do you want to, I think technically the answer, if they're really helping you move forward on your program, probably yes. But Mary Beth, do you want to add any nuance to that?
So these trainings that you're going to is meant to advance your program with the staff that you have. It's not meant to take a consultant and train them with other funds. So typically that would not happen. Okay. Right? We would not want a consultant to be trained, because once they walk away, then your jurisdiction has nothing, right? You have no training. Your staff didn't get it. It was somebody else that can walk away. So no, that would typically not be allowed, unless the consultant is who is hired by the jurisdiction to do all the work, and that's the way the system runs. But that doesn't sound like that's the question in this case. So the answer is no. Mary
Beth, I'm gonna ask the question that does. I'm just thinking of some of our grantees. Some of our grantees hire consultants that end up being multi-year partners and moving through the standards. In that case, if they explain that.
In that case, the answer is still no, because you're hiring them for their expertise. You're not hiring them to then send them to training to get the expertise to then help you. They come with the expertise, you hire them for what they're being hired to work on, but the money should not be going to consultants to further their education. It's meant to be used for staff of the jurisdictions to further their education so that they can continue the progress, whether they stay in that jurisdiction or move to another.
Okay. All right. And that's a really clear, crisp answer. Thank you, Mary Beth. And so basically the answer is no, but if you've got further questions, feel free to put them in, send an email to the grant program team, and we'll get Mary Beth to weigh in if there's some quirk in your process.
Okay. So regarding the training option, without knowing what will be available next year, it sounds like we will have a pretty generic explanation for how it will help us. So that was basically a general comment, if anyone wants to respond to that.
Joe, and Rance and Evan have been working on trying to get as much of the 2024 training stuff up on the website. Evan or Rance, you want to weigh in on that, where you are? And we're with you. We want to get, we're trying to gather as much information as we can.
So we've got most of the information already pulled together there. And I think today we're going to be working on, it'll be up on the website probably before the end of the week there with the FDA is doing some face-to-face trainings next year in retail food, not many, but they are doing some. So that's an option that's there. And plus the conferences, plus the SAVA workshops. And then we're just waiting on a couple more pieces there. And if we don't get it by the time the grant opens, we'll put them on as soon as we get the dates that we have available there. But we'll have plenty of resources for you to see what some training opportunities are that are out there.
Yeah. Thank you, Rance. And I know Evan's doing a lot of that background work, so thanks to Evan too. And I would just add a little bit more to that. Put in your application what you think you're going to do. You know, if you're not sure, but you think there's going to be an FDA course offered, write it up that way. More than likely, it's going to work out the way that you said. But if not, all we're going to ask you to do is find something comparable. You know, if you asked for a course that you thought was going to be delivered, we're going to let you change that grant to a similar retail course that is available and make the budget changes necessary. So put in your best stab at an estimated plan of what you want to do, knowing that updates can be made. You know, there's a pretty clear picture of the kind of training you can do. So our training grant changes are the most flexible we have, because as long as your goal is still, you know, to work through standard 2 and to get the required training your folks need, we're going to let you make those switches. But we'd much rather see a concrete plan than, well, here's a bunch of different trainings we might consider. It's going to score higher if you come up with a plan, even if you need to change it later.
Okay, so the next one is our self-assessment was done by a previous manager and supervisor who have separated from employment. And we hear this a lot, everyone. We do hear this a lot.
Yeah.
There is no documentation available. I don't believe any monies were received. Can we start fresh?
I think that follows on Mary Beth's question is, yeah, I mean, based on your needs, and feel free to reach out, call us or email us and talk specifics. But that sounds like a case where you might want to start fresh in track 1. Yeah.
Okay, and then it's the last one for right now. Is there a requirement, terms and conditions of the award for 2 primary staff that are involved in the grant to attend the annual NEHA AEC?
What we're going to do is, if you've attended, if you have 2 staff attend, and Tiara, 2 staff is still acceptable this year, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and
I think the question's on the NEHA AEC, not the year-end piece there.
Oh, is that right? Sorry,
yeah.
Yeah,
They're
so you're not required.
They're not, yeah.
We'd love to have you there. It's going to be in Pittsburgh next year, but yeah, that is not a requirement of the grant.
No, absolutely not a requirement. But yeah, you've got full options with all the training. And again, reach out with any specific questions if we didn't hit it.
That was the last question for right now, Art.
Okay, I'm going to just quickly, I've got this list in front of me. If we previously received the AFTO grant, are there any special regs or consideration? Nope, this is a new program. Feel free to apply. And again, all the basic rules apply. So we're hoping if you've done grants in the past, you're ready to jump into track 2 with this grant program. What's required of a self-assessment? Reach out to your retail food specialist. Go on the NEHA website, go on the FDA website, but basically, you're basically filling out a form. You're going through each of a checklist for each of the standards. You're basically assessing, hey, where am I on this one? Where am I on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? You're looking at all 9 standards. It's really an assessment of where you are. It's the starting point. I think that probably answers that. We've covered changes, new to the program. Okay, that's good. Somebody asked how to apply for grants that help with obtaining inspection equipment and software. Now with the fixed funding, you can absolutely do that through track 2. We want to see you writing up. We would want to still hear about what you're buying and how that software is going to help you. But you definitely, the goal here of this program is not, hey, we need some inspection equipment or we need the software. The goal is I'm going to make progress through the standards. So we'd love for you to be buying. A lot of people do buy that equipment and software that helps them progress through the standards. And that's going to be even easier now with some of the fixed buckets of funding. And I'm looking, I think that's about it. All right, I'll go through a couple more slides. Any, Rance, was that you? Other questions?
We just got 2 more questions in.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is more of a technical question. Are we able to view the applications ahead of time to start working on them now?
Answer is yes. We are working on, and hopefully by the end of this week, same answer as Rance on the training. We hope to post both sample applications of each type on the website by the end of the week. We're also working on budget worksheets. We're going to do a special projects one, which because that requires a budget still. And we're also going to do 3 different training budgets, one for track 1, track 2, and track 3. So you guys have examples of those. And like I said, we hope to get those posted by the end of this week, if not this week, by next week. And the grant guidance itself is being posted today. So it might not be up yet, but it should be up by the end of the day.
Okay, and it looks like the last one, with the funding being fixed for the mentorship grant, can some of those funds be used for travel if we do not receive the training travel grant?
With a fixed funding, you can spend those funds however you need. So we're going to just ask, your reporting is going to be about your deliverables. Just keep in mind to follow those travel rules. You're not going to have to report on that travel, but keep in mind, again, the goal of the fixed funding is what you need better than anyone. We're going to be flexible, but you really, the hope is that whatever you do is enabling you to make this progress and meet these deliverables.
And Rosie DeVito was just kind enough to post the grant guidance for calendar year 2024. So it's posted here and it's online.
Okay, and when you say posted, it's in the chat?
It's in the chat, yes, sir.
All right, beautiful. And again, that's coming today. All right, well, let me just go through a couple of slides, and they're really just summarizing our conversation. And I don't know if this time's out, but some of us will be willing to stay if you still have questions after the top of the hour. But in summary, application tips for each funding track. This PowerPoint's also going to be posted by the end of the week. Come in here. I'm going to summarize this slide by saying, if you're applying, show us you understand what it means to work through the retail program standards. Go online, read the FDA documentation. We want to know how you're going to spend the money, but we really want to know you've made progress in the past, you're going to make progress in the future. Where are you in the continuum? How do you need help? Really demonstrate that you're committed to making progress through the retail program standard. There's some specifics for all tracks in each track here. I won't go over that, but this PowerPoint's going to be available no later than the end of the week, and probably by tomorrow. All right, and we wanted to say thank you. We understand the challenges you face. I've been involved in this program for 10 years now. I've never seen people struggle. We hope that things would get better after the pandemic. There's still major struggles in a lot of parts of the country in public health. So thank you. We are amazed how much you've done and how successful you've been with your grants in spite of all those extra challenges. So thank you. You guys are awesome. Thank you for the work you do. You're our heroes. And we really hope, we heard it was passed on to us that some people were saying, some of the paperwork was too complex. I'm not even going to apply in 2024. We hope we change your mind. Helping you maximize your success is really why we're here, and gives us purpose in our jobs. And then just at the very end, and you can take a picture of this, but again, this will be posted in track 1. you have 3 different funding options. 2 of them are fixed, all through a single application. That's track 1, up to 26,500. In track 2, you can get up to 31,500 through your base grant. You can also apply for to be a mentor instead of a mentee. And you can also apply for a special projects optional add-on grant. Those will be competitive, but track 2 applicants can submit up to 3 applications. And in track 3, whoops, I went the wrong way there. In track 3, you can submit up to 3 applications, the training optional add-on, the mentorship optional add-on to be a mentor or a mentee, and the special projects optional add-on. And again, some significant funding there even for track 3. Couple things that are important here. A reminder, you do not need to apply again for your base grant, but just as we did this year, we will be calling you at the end of the year to see how you did on your spending, especially since 2024 is the last year of your 3-year grant. Make sure you spend all your money in year 2. We will be trying to reallocate money just as we did this year. Reduce your funding if you haven't spent it and use it for new grantees and use it for the future of the program. And just for those of you who probably some of you were a little frustrated when you lost some of your 3-year grant because you were behind on some of the work. I hope you know that that's going to mean between 100 and 200 additional small grants are given in year 3. And that's going to be, some of those are going to be coming to the track 3 grantees themselves. So you've helped yourself, but that's particularly going to help the people that want to go into tracks 1 and track 2 by being a team and by using what you asked for and by releasing what you can't spend. Again, 100 to 200 additional jurisdictions will be served, and that's a pretty powerful thing. So thank you for our track 3 folks, but no, we're going to be talking again at the end of year 2. And with that, here's the final information. We will, if it's possible, we'll stay on for questions, but this is the final stuff you need. Get ready to apply next week. Lots coming on the website in the next week, and we're really excited to work with y'all again for another year.
Art, we just got asked if we could show the track 2 summary again.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So here's the track 2 summary. Try to make sure all my floating boxes are out of the way. And I'm seeing chat. So Joe, we'll go as long as we need to.
Okay, yeah, no, we're getting tons of thank yous and it was really helpful. And then we have somebody else asking if we could please show the tips slide.
Yeah. Yep. And I'll just voice over this. I mean, everybody tells us how they're going to spend the money, but sometimes it's just an island. Hey, we want to spend this money. They don't tie it to, hey, this is going to help me do X, which is going to prepare me for Y and Z in the coming years. We really want to hear a story about how committed you are to the retail program standards, how you're in it for the long run, and how how you're going to meet goals and maybe end up meeting 7, 8, 9 standards over the next 5 years.
We do have a question about where this recording will be available. I know it will be available on our website. I believe it would normally be placed on the RFFM resources page. Elizabeth,
asking where this PowerPoint is going to be posted?
The recording of it.
Oh yeah, it's going. I almost for sure it's going to be on the left tab that says Program Resources. But I'm also thinking that we'll probably send an email out that tells everybody in the next week or so, that tells everybody where some of these key things are, where to get the guidance and where to get the resources. But your key places are the front page of the again, the site. I'm going to move down to the site. The site is actually, I don't have it on this page, but it's NEHA.org/retail-grants. go to that website. You can also email us at retailgrants@neha.org, and we will provide that to you. You can call us toll free. But the main pieces of the site you want to be aware of is once you get to that retail-grants page on the NEHA site, the main page has all the key dates and contact information. On the left side, you're going to find the grant guidance and the program resources. Those are the three critical pieces of the website.
And Rosie has helped us out and said the recording can be found here once posted, and she gives the www.neha.org retail grants resources. So it'll be just where you said it would. And she's posted the actual web address on here. And then we have somebody asking to see the track 3 summary again.
Sure.
And then we have a couple questions.
Yeah, sure. Here's track 3.
This one is straight. Will the next seminar be the same except for questions? Yes, Deborah, it should be the same.
Yep.
Other than the questions. And then we have with a single application for all options, would the application look largely like last year's base grant, but adding sections for the optional grants?
And I'm assuming we're talking about track 2 because track 1 was combined already last year. It is exactly what you said. It's the track 2 base grant from last year with both the required and the optional outcomes. And then it's got do you want to apply for training? And it opens all the same options for training that were there last year, all the courses. And it's got do you want to be a mentee? And it opens up the exact same mentee grant that you saw last year.
And then Evan was kind enough to put up the actual link to where the webinar will be posted. So
yeah. And Joe, I would just add the webinar will probably be almost exclusively the same. You never know what kind of questions get asked, but if there's anything we've majorly missed, we'll definitely add it. So it might be worth your time to at least have it on in the background. And if we do add anything extra, we'll probably cover that right up front so that you could sign in quickly and then sign off if the rest of it's different or the same.
Yep, I'm not seeing anything else at the moment. Okay, we got another one. If you're not certain on the trainings you will send staff to, should you put your best guess and then you can modify if your decision changes?
Yeah, absolutely. And really what you should have, there is a box to have a training plan. And so your training plan is not just what trainings you're going to, but how do you use training? How does it impact your organization? So build out that training plan really good. But yeah, say, you can definitely, if you build out your training plan really strong, you could say, hey, we're considering these 3 trainings or something like that. But go ahead, estimate your budget, guesstimate what trainings you go to, give us as much meat as you can, knowing you can make changes.
Okay, do you know where the mentorship end of year conference will be in 2024?
Tiara, I think we know that. Tiara might not be with us. I believe, I don't have it at my fingertips. I think it's in the DC area again. Rance, do you know?
I have not heard, Art. So no, I don't know.
I'm sorry, I was having technical difficulties. No, I don't believe we know just yet where it will be next year, but we are hopeful to have a location decision very early in the program.
And remember that in your mentee and mentor grants, that going to that is just deliverables based. So actually, you don't even really need to worry about how much you're going to spend on that because it's a deliverable space payment.
I'm not.
Thank you so much for all your talking today. So good job on that.
And thank you for the tag team. Joe, I think you were saying I didn't see any more chats come in. Are we at the thank you slide?
We're at the thank you slide. Yeah, we're getting thank yous again. So. Outstanding.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
I want to say our video will cut off very shortly, so we can wrap this up. If there's any other questions, feel free to email any of our team. And yeah, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank
thanks,
you,
guys.
everyone. You know where to reach us with specific questions.